Hi, welcome back to Not So Obvious Watches. I'm Pete McConville, and this is my hot take on the new Moser Heritage Dual Time in absolutely stunning burgundy. Okay, first things first, this is a hot take. This is not a critique. This is not a review. I've not been hands-on with this watch. So even I don't trust what I say in a hot take too much, and I still reserve the right to change my mind completely when and if I get hands-on with these watches. I strongly suggest you do too. So with that behind us, let's do the intro, and then on the other side, I'll talk to you about my feelings on this new Moser. Okay, let's cut to the chase. How do I feel about the Moser Heritage Dual Time in this absolutely stunning burgundy? I'm really not sure. After a week and a half of staring at this and trying to nail down something that would make an exciting hot take, I'm still struggling to come to a final position. I'm going to have to see this in the metal before I really commit, and probably even then have to sit with my thoughts for a while. There is one thing that's really complicating this, and I'll get to that. I want a Moser at some point. I like the brand, I like its history, I like its viewpoint. I like that when so many other brands take the easy route, shoot for the middle of the goals, use the backboard to bounce in an easy shot. Moser goes for it. They shoot for the corners in their really own unique way. And as I say, I love that ethos. Funny though, Moser don't actually make a lot of watches I want to buy, kind of like JLC. Not that there's a problem with the watches, it's just that they don't fit in my collecting swim lane. They're not something that fits with what I want my collection to be. As a YouTuber, I love that because it makes talking about the watches, analysing the watches easier by removing some of the kind of subjectivity of am I going to spend my money on this. It allows me some, not a lot, but some objectivity to accept some theoretical other person's criteria. Me potentially wanting this watch and having it in my collection is absolutely complicating my ability to think clearly about this watch. Very quickly on why this Moser, why this one for my collection. First off, because I collect travel watches, and until recently, Moser hasn't done a lot in that space, but here we are. Secondly, I'm getting more comfortable with spending the kind of money that Moser want, and this is steel, and it's not the most expensive Moser, and it's getting into my region. So that's very quickly why this Moser is a bit different to most others I've looked at. Okay, so what is it about the watch I do love? Okay, to start with, I love the dial. Moser are masters of that fume dial. They have nailed it here once again. It is beautiful and sort of still and dynamic at the same time. The color gradients are just gorgeous. I absolutely love that dial. I love the case. It nods to the past with its overall shape and the welded look lugs, but combining that with the modern flourishes and decoration on the case sides, absolutely perfect. I love the hands. I think the choice of those sharp angular sword hands is ideal and matches beautifully with the Art Deco styled numerals, which I also love. I love that kind of all the pre-war looks, those Art Deco stylings are much more preferable to me than the more Art Nouveau decorative flowery Breguet numerals that we routinely see. I love the crown. I think it just fits beautifully with the overall shape and aesthetic that they're aiming for on this watch. So between the dial, the case, the hands, the numerals, and the crown, that's a whole lot of love. I also love that overall, what this watch brings is a really interesting retro design, drawing from history, but escaping from the straitjacket of 50s and 60s design and bringing some really modern flair. Throw all of that, that's a lot of love. So why am I unsure about this watch? Really, there's a couple of reasons. Two are to do with styling. The first is I'm really unsure about the sculpted, loom-impregnated materials used for the numerals. The materiality just doesn't feel right. For me, I have similar feelings about these numerals as I do around white ceramic cases on watches. I always like the idea, and I think it's going to be fantastic, but then when I see it, it always comes across as a little tool-like, a little, dare I say it, plasticky. And I get that same look from these, at least in the renders and the photos. Now, this is the first time where I say I really do need to see this in real life. Maybe my brain can get past that problem, but right now I keep making that leap. Next, I'm definitely in two minds over that translucent logo. Hey, look, I hate over-branding and over-texting. I think it really cheapens the look of a watch. It's something that watch designers seem to pick up almost from street cars back in the 90s and early 2000s and haven't figured out how to let go. It just really, as I say, gives me a kind of cheap feeling about a watch. But I'm not sure if what Moser's done here is the answer. A discrete logo, great, fine. But this one, at least in the pictures, feels less discreet and more like the printer ran out of ink or the applied logo fell off and left an imprint. It feels like there's something missing, not like there's something there. And again, just like with the numerals, maybe in real life that would change. But right now, that's really holding me back. Now, those things are just styling, and I could potentially get past those problems with one quick trip to an AD, see the watch, realize that I love it, and move on. But there's another deeper problem. And that is, for this watch, its form isn't following, isn't matching, isn't fulfilling its fiction. Moser are selling this, they're marketing this as a true global adventure watch, hence all the big deal about the kudu strap, etc. Except it feels like I'm not expected to travel more than a few hours from home at any one time. Otherwise, why didn't you give me a 24-hour scale or perhaps an AM, PM, day-night indicator? Okay, now I get it. Moser love their clean and minimal look, and I love them for it. And people will always have their phones with them, so I can always just check what the actual time is in some other time zone. But that's not the point. For me, a watch's function, and included in that function is its look, must at least try and match the fiction, the story, the narrative that watch is telling. And this watch doesn't even try to do that, and it bugs the life out of me. It's like those Aura 65 divers that only give you 100 meters water resistance. I know that I don't need more than 100 meters, but again, that's not the point. If you're going to call yourself a diver, your function has to match that fiction. And that's the same thing here. Don't tell me that you're building a watch for the global adventurer and then give me a watch that's really only suited to traveling, one or two time zones in either direction. Now, I know some of you will be saying that's silly. This is such a gorgeous watch and there's 1,000,001 reasons why it doesn't matter. But you see, watches themselves are silly. Every single mechanical watch in the world is silly. And every motivation you have and I have for wanting any of these things is patently silly. This is just my silly reason for wanting this watch or potentially not wanting this watch. And it's kind of bugging me, and I'm going to have to really sit with this for a while to see whether it stops me really wanting this piece. Okay, so that's it. That's my hot take. A very lukewarm take in the end on the new Moser Heritage Dual Time. What do you think? Is this a watch for you? Being a Moser, it's not going to be a watch for everyone. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot of people who aren't really into this. Personally, I still need to see it in the metal, and I need to stop and sort of sit with my thoughts on this for a while. As I said, what about you? Tell me what your thoughts on this watch are, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And apart from that, I will see you later. Bye.